Ready.
In London, the new Free Trade Agreement or the FTA between India and the UK, following Britain's exit from the European Union, could take nearly 7 years, according to an analyst released by the anti-Brexit think tank today. Open Britain set up a campaign group against the hard Brexit by the prominent British politicians and campaigners. The analyzed time taken by the countries in various FTA negotiations have the past to come up with an average estimate. India takes an average 6 years and 11 months compared to China's 5 years and 9 months. In case of India to get trade talks started, the UK would need to agree to grant more visas for Indian workers, something the UK government blocked in the European Union-India FTA talks. China meanwhile is deeply proactive of its sectors of services. In turn for any kind of trade deal, Beijing would likely want Britain to advocate for it to be granted the market economy status of the World Trade Organization. As part of its research, the group added up the time estimates for 5 major countries identified as the priority targets with the post-Brexit. The FTA potentials are India, China, the US, Australia and New Zealand, and concluded that it could take up to 26 years before Britain is able to strike an FTAs with these key non-European Union economies. As a new information, like the enormous length of time it is likely to take to negotiate any new trade deals comes to light, we all have the right to ask if the Brexit remains the best choice for our country and to keep open the option of saying no thanks to what the British Prime Minister Theresa May brings back from her negotiations, said the Labour Party MP Peter Kyle, a leading supporter of the Open Britain. Britain will be in the position to negotiate new trade deals with countries like India only after its official exit from the European Union on March 29 next year. Open Britain's estimates claim that if the UK government sought out to negotiate with each of the key countries consecutively, it could hope to have deals with all 5 countries in place by 2045. Even then, the country's own analysis says a trade deal with the US would only benefit GDP by about 0.2% in the long term, with deals with other non-European Union countries adding just a further 0.1% to 0.4% to the GDP over the long term. The think tank claims that the Department of International Trade has limited resources to take on more than one set of negotiations at the same time, and in addition, it will likely be busy negotiations at the FTA with the European Union well into the 2020s. Lord Burton, the Foreign European Union Commissioner, trade negotiator and the supporter of Open Britain, added that the trade negotiations are nasty, brutish and long. After a hard Brexit, the UK will not be in the position to dictate the terms to the major economies like the US, China and India. Under the pressure from Prime Minister to salvage something after the Brexit, ministers risk being taken for the ride by the President Donald Trump and others who will insist we lower our foot on the environmental studies and possibly open up our new NHS so that their industries can get a foothold in the UK. Under the terms of Brexit agreed so far, Britain and the European Union have agreed to the transition phase until December 31, 2020 as a status quo, a period for both the sides to finalize a new trade agreement. The UK government has claimed that this should be a relatively smooth process as it hopes to replicate an existing UE FTAs that already exist within the member countries. So what do you think of the new post-Brexit India-UK trade deal could take nearly 7 years to make an impact for the UK? Well, India can give them any employments or job opportunities or any well-beings for the UK in the coming or future years, or India is digging its graves or UK is digging its grave for its economies. In New Delhi, the Trade Minister of India and the UK would meet in London on January 11 as part of the Joint Economic Trade Committee (JETCO) deliberation to boost bilateral commerce. Next, India-UK Joint E-Commerce and Trade Committee (JETCO) meeting co-chaired by the Commerce and Industry Minister Suresh Prabhu, to be held in London on January 11, 2018. The Department of Commerce said in a tweet, "In the last meeting, the both sides reviewed the progress and held in the joint working groups on areas like smart cities and advanced manufacturing." The bilateral trade between India and the UK dipped to $12.2 billion in 2016 to 17, as against the $14 billion in the previous fiscal year. India received a $24.9 billion foreign investment from Britain between April 2002 to September 2017 of FDI. As of India's probes cheap detergent chemical imports from China, India has initiated an anti-dumping probe into imports of Chinese chemical used in the detergent following the complaints from some domestic companies. Gujarat Credo, Emerald Industries and Chemical India have filed an application before the Directorate General of Anti-Dumping and Allied Duties, a DGAD, for the initiation of investigation into the imports of Geolite 4A, a detergent grade, from China. In a notification, the DGAD said that prima facie it has found sufficient evidence of dumping of the chemical. The anti-dumping duty, if imposed, would help guard the domestic players in the sector against the cheap imports of the product. The authority hereby initiates an investigation into the alleged dumping and the consequent injury to the domestic industry, it said. In the probe, it would determine the existence and the effect of the alleged dumping and recommend the amount of anti-dumping duty which is levied would be adequate to remove the injury to the domestic industry. The period from April 2016 to June 2017, or 15 months' time, will be taken for the probe. The countries carry out the anti-dumping probe to determine whether their domestic industries have been hurt because of the surge in the cheap imports. As a countermeasure, they import duties under the multilateral regime of WTO. The duty is aimed at ensuring the fair trading practices and creating a level playing field for the domestic producers with regard to the foreign producers and the exporters. India has already imposed anti-dumping duty on the several products of tackle cheap imports including from China. The country has imposed the duty on many 98 products as on December 27 last year of 2017 imported from China. So what do you think of the new bilateral economic trade between India and UK and the new anti-dumping policy against China's imports to India?
About 60 kilometers west of Ghana's capital, Accra, in the heart of the pineapple belt, Gold Coast Fruits farm manager Patrick Osei Sedibor is checking on his harvest. These sweet and tangy pineapples are destined for dinner tables in Europe, North Africa, the Middle East, as well as Ghana, so quality control is an important part of business. Pineapples are a very time-consuming fruit to grow. In fact, these spiny fruit take more than a year to reach maturity. So it's very important for growers like Gold Coast Fruits to make sure their plants have everything they need to reach their potential, or risk disaster at harvest time.
We were planting along the slopes of the land, but with the intervention of SDF, we have realized that the main challenge that we have with the diseases and then the erosion of the land has been solved, because they have incorporated into a design of our layout drains that are taking water from the root zones of the plants and then to the various areas where the water will not be stagnant around the root zones of the plant to cause the Phytophthora disease.
For Sedibor, drainage has been a particularly important part of the Skills Development Fund in which the farm was enrolled in 2013. Through this fund, he and his team learned that stagnant water causes pineapple diseases that can blight nearly an entire harvest. But that's not all. With the help of a $61,000 grant from the World Bank-supported Ghana Skills and Technology Development Project, Sedibor was able to bring pineapple specialists all the way from Central America in a skills transfer that's meant a big improvement to his business.
Before then, the combination of the fertilizers that we are using was a big challenge. And when and how to use those fertilizers was also a big challenge. But with the SDF, we're able to bring consultants from Costa Rica that have been able to train us to improve on our application and when to apply and what chemical at what point in time of our operations. And that has also helped us to curb the incidence of the phytophthora diseases that we used to have.
With the help of the Skills Development Fund and other partners, Gold Coast Fruits is now the 4th largest pineapple exporter in Ghana.
Now, before we were having about 35 tons, we've raised to 40 tons, 45 tons now. But with all these technologies imparted with us, coupled with new machines that we are using, in the next 2, 3 to 5 years, we want to increase our production from 45 tons to 55 tons.
The success of the farm has carried over to the community. The farm has made fair trade agreements with importers abroad, and this has further helped the community meet more than just their basic needs.
We've also increased our premium that we are getting from our fair trade markets, and that has also helped us to engage in many community activities. We are providing books, textbooks, and school uniform to schools around the vicinity of the catchment area of the farm. We have also provided scholarship to certain brilliant but needy students around the communities.
Post your comments below, and if you like this video, please give a thumbs up and follow us on social networks and subscribe to our channel. And thanks for watching. This is WC Daily. Think big, think different. Bye.